Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier on the second hour, we'll be looking at the war on drug abuse. And allow me to put this into context. On 31st of December last year, that is 2025, the head of state in his annual State of the Nation address to the country at the year end, he did say that he has declared 2026 a national development and security emergency when it comes to matters drugs and substance abuse. And of course, you bear us witnesses that you have seen a number of even new drugs in the market, including when it comes to tobacco. There are other that are stemming from tobacco. When it comes to alcohol, not only do we have second generation drinks, we even have some which have killed people in the country. And the head of state has said that he will give the same expansion to the anti-narcotics unit, the same that he has given the anti-terror police unit, ATPU. That just show you how serious the head of state is in regards to that. But to put things into perspective, allow me to rope in my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left. We have Amos Waroe, who is the Principal Programs Officer at NACADA. Karibu sana, Amos.
Thank you, Ben. And Santi, for having me.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
I don't know whether we still tujenda sana.
It's still New Year.
And next to him, we have Thomas Lindy. We've had a conversation in regards to drugs with him. He'll be telling us where we are. Thomas Lindy is the coordinator for the KTCA, just as mentioned earlier on. That is the Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance. Karibu sana, my brother. And good to see you again.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, my brother. Yeah. Now, allow me to begin with Amos, yeah? I'm looking at some of the statistics that we have seen, and you can put it into context. 1 in 3 men and 1 in 11 youths are struggling with one form of addiction or the other. From where you sit, from NACADA's point of view, which is one issue that has come up in regards to drugs that the Kenyans are now putting more emphasis, and that is why it could be why the president said he's declaring total war on drugs.
Thank you, Ben. And once again, thank you for having me. As you have likely put it, actually the figures you are quoting, they are coming from our last national survey on alcohol and drug abuse in Kenya. That was in 2022, almost 7 years ago. So I would even tell you that what we have now, what we had those days could even be much higher. And we are preparing to undertake another survey. And the situation in the country, like it has been noted, and especially through the concern the president raised during the New Year Eve, is that in the country we're having a big problem. Actually, it's now almost becoming a disaster. And everyone can see it. Even you, when you walk out there, you can see it. From our urban areas to the rural areas. I know most of us visited the rural areas during the Christmas holidays, and we have a big problem. And actually, it's not even affecting men. It's cutting across all our populations, including ladies, and to some extent, including school-going children. So the problem we have currently is that alcohol is a leading substance of abuse, like you rightly put it. During that survey, we realized that 40.5% of Kenyans were using alcohol, and about 11.8 were struggling, almost half of the population. And the about 11.8 were having problem with alcohol use now, meaning these are people who require some assistance. We also found other substances, if you allow me to just highlight to give you a background of the situation, that also our youth were also highly affected. And our youth, I'm talking, allow me to refer to a survey we did in 2024 targeting university students in Kenya, where we realized that quite a number of them were also affected by these substances. Alcohol was also the leading substance at 40.5%, meaning that in our universities, on average of, out of every 3 students, there's one using alcohol. That's the...
Both male and female.
Both male and female, yes. Then what came second was also cigarettes. Cigarettes also came at 13.4. Then we had another new phenomena, like you rightly put it in the introduction, shisha. Shisha and vapes at 10.9. And as you know, that shisha today is illegal in Kenya. The CS of Health issued a gazette notice banning shisha, and I know my brother here from Tobacco Control could talk more about it. And it's becoming a very serious concern because, one, the health effects are even more dangerous because it's being used by the young people, and the health consequences, respiratory diseases and other complications are coming out of it.
Yeah.
And also the other challenge we are facing, or the worry, is that the people using shisha and the vapes, the e-cigarettes, there's this notion that is fashionable, is modern, you know, but the health effects are the same or even worse. So there's that mentality that maybe if I'm not smoking a cigarette, I'm doing a vape, I'm looking more fashionable and maybe it's safer, which is not the case. So those are some of the challenges. Another issue we also picked is bangi, cannabis sativa. That's another big challenge. In our 2022 survey, it appeared that cannabis had even doubled from the previous survey.
Had doubled?
Yes, the use.
Okay.
So there's an increase in the use of bangi, and this can also be attested by the many volumes we have been seizing. You have been seeing what has been reported NACADA is doing, Julie, on our enforcement aspect, on the control of the drugs. Bangi is also another big challenge, which we also need to think how to go about it as a country. And overall, we are saying that this is not NACADA's job, but it's all of us. And I think that's what the president said. I even watched another interview last night of the CS, and that's the message we are saying. So basically, we have a big problem in our country, and it's a time for every one of us to come on board and see what we need to do.
Allow me to pick from where Amos has left in regards to shisha. I will tell you for a fact, during the festive season, you know, it was in plain sight, and it's so much illegal, but Kenyans don't know that shisha is as illegal as bang, because it's illegal, and bang is also illegal as well. So I'm looking at tobacco control, and while hard drugs are having the headlines, even the president did mention cocaine, heroin, hashish, you know, he did mention those drugs, and they grab their attentions in airports, in you know, those that are seized. But I'm looking at tobacco and nicotine products. I remember we had this conversation, but I think it wasn't as elaborate as it now. We're talking about vapes, we're talking about nicotine pouches, and we are talking about shisha, and especially in many establishments here in Nairobi. So I want to know how the landscape has shifted in the last more or less like 12 months.
Thank you very much, and thank you, my brother, for giving the statistics. I think, yeah, there's been a lot of change in terms of the landscape, especially when we look at the consumption of shisha and even many other tobacco products. As you have said, we have so many emerging tobacco products, the vapes that have been engineered in such a way that people may think that these are safe products. And even the shisha, the mechanism that the people, we call it the paraphernalia, that the smoke goes through and it goes through the water. It has a deceiving kind of, it deceives people that this is something safe. People think that once the smoke goes through that big bottle with a lot of water there, then it is, the bong, and it's purified. That's a very wrong approach to it, and we have seen an increase in consumption of this product, and I would say that partly is because of the issue of enforcement. There's been weakened enforcement. You know, at the beginning of the year, in 2024, 2025, we saw a lot of raids being done by NACADA, though there was a lot of backlash and there was a lot of arrests and people were taken to court. Then there was an issue that needed to be addressed there because I think it was not clear how the ban was put in place. And I think the courts did some injustice whereby there was a reversal of the ban for some time. But later on, I think that one was solved. And right now, we have a ban on shisha. That needs to be communicated clearly among Kenyans. And we continue to urge the enforcement teams to continue enforcing. Myself, I also witnessed that in many places. It is just in plain sight, people are consuming shisha without regard of the law. And I think one of the things with the consumption of shisha, it was that there was the study that was done showed that there is high instances of these products being laced with other hard drugs. It is easily for someone to put in some other drugs into the shisha bongs, like the types of the heroin and such, and one can consume unaware of what is actually consuming. Some of these products, according to the Tobacco Control Act, there is a stipulation on how these products should be marketed and consumed. Shisha is already banned, but other tobacco products, we have specifics. There must be some clear graphics on these products. There must be some warnings on the product. There must be some packaging for the products to be consumed. And shisha does not meet any of those. And going back to the concern that we are facing as a country, I feel that the main challenge that we're having is these soft drugs, if I may call them that way, that once, for example, tobacco, it has been used as a gateway. People get introduced into hard drugs through using tobacco. You'll find that in high schools, that's where there is a lot of introduction to some of these products. And the people feel that it's just smoking, and smoking does, and even the effects are not that intensive as one begins. But the nicotine in the tobacco product hooks these people to this product, and they cannot be able to move out of it. So with the time, they want to get higher and higher, and that's why we see people graduating, starting with the tobacco, maybe adding miraa into the mix. You'll find a lot of youth, and we also witnessed during the festivities, a lot of youth using tobacco and miraa and mogoka. All those are still soft drugs. But with the time, this person, now that he cannot, he wants to crave a more high, he moves to other hard drugs, and that's where we find ourselves in this situation whereby a lot of our population is getting zombified into some of these hard drugs that it's very difficult to come out of them.
And I do remember, still on the same, Thomas, I remember there was a discussion in regards to the nicotine pouches in Parliament, and after that they vanished. They were being sold everywhere, in supermarkets, in convenience shops, in petrol stations. They kind of disappeared. But in the last couple of days, and especially over the festive season, they were all over. They're over the shelves again. What is happening?
I think there is lack of seriousness in our country in
enforcement.
In enforcement, especially dealing with some of these products. We have a lot of illegal drugs finding their way into our country, whereas our agencies are concentrating on the hard drugs. Like, for example, the arrest of some of the guys at the sea, and I'm told that the Iranians, and I'm told that they pleaded guilty. But where was that consignment heading to? It was heading into our market here. So we need a lot of our agencies, and I'm happy about what the president has, the conversation that he started earlier on in the year. And you're seeing this even at the international stage, whereby the US is also coming in very strongly against some of these drugs. That is the type of effort that our country should also put in, so that they can pluck out some of these dealers of these products, and they should get face justice. Because without doing that, and even without taking care of our population in terms of the soft drugs that are being introduced into the market, illegal drugs. We have issues of Oris. I don't know if you know about that. It's also an illegal tobacco product that is found everywhere within the informal settlement, and people are consuming it. So we need strong agencies, And I'm happy about what NACADA has been doing over time, but we need to revamp that and ensure that we can be able to take care of these issues.
Allow me to have a different opinion in regards to what you've said, as you're happy about what NACADA is doing. But back to you, Amos, and I'm not trying to really discredit you guys, but the moment that the president mentioned that, actually, it was more or less the bulk of his conversation. And there are agencies, including NACADA, who are mandated to ensure that we don't have drugs. And of course, if we have the drugs that are regulated, including tobacco, the regulation is, and the enforcement, actually, to be specific, is followed. But you guys have been doing a lot of campaigns, and we've seen a few guys arrested over shisha, but other than that, nothing. We are not seeing anything. So my question to you is, in regards to what the head of state said, he's equating drug trafficking to terrorism, and he said they would even be looking at the legislation to just have stiffer laws in regards to that. Now we have a multi-agency approach, because the president did mention that, and he said he is going to be engaging all the stakeholders involved. As NACADA, what exactly are you going to be doing so that you're not all back and no bite?
Thank you, Ben. Allow me first to also give a background of what is our core mandate.
Yes.
NACADA is a campaign outfit. Actually, you know, the name NACADA is an acronym. Our full name is National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, addressing the word campaign.
Yeah.
At the foundation, or when it was established, it was mainly to be a campaign outfit. And campaign is when you create awareness, you tell people the dangers of this and that. And that was has been happening. But of late, for the last like 2 years, NACADA has been changing to get also directly involved in enforcement. Because, like, you know, all government agencies work in tandem with each other, especially those agencies whose mandate kind of cut across or crisscross each other. And NACADA, we don't work alone. That's why we bring the aspect of multi-agency. Even all along, that's what has been happening. So on the aspect of the enforcement, which we call surprise suppression, we work with other government agencies, and especially law enforcement agencies. That is the police, the DCI, the Anti-Narcotic Police Unit, the one which is being revamped, and we are very happy because it's going to really help us in our work. And even immigration, for those who are bringing things from outside which are not allowed. Kenya Revenue Authority, because also drugs have an aspect of tax evasion, especially the alcohol products and all that. Yeah, so we have been working a lot with these people. But of late, NACADA is also now being empowered towards enforcement. Because like I've told you, our campaign has been twofold. Surprise suppression and demand reduction. And the demand reduction is what you are saying. We've been doing a lot of campaigns, creating awareness and all that. But now we have realized that that's not enough. And that's why the government has now even empowered NACADA today to also have an arm of enforcement. Like my brother said, that's why we have been too active even in the local entertainment joints enforcing on shisha and the like. Those are officers drawn from ourselves, from NACADA. We have a unit now. And now bringing all the others together, we form a synergy, and I can tell you we are going to see a lot of change and difference. And there's also, as I said in my introduction, is that our biggest problem has been alcohol. And I think you can also attest to that, even by just doing a drive around the country. We have a big problem with alcohol, which doesn't mean we don't have other problems. And I would maybe give some historical background how we got to where we are. Is that, you know, before the adoption of the 2010 Constitution, NACADA used to license all outlets. But when the Constitution came and we started, it was being implemented, that function was devolved to county governments. So today, it's the county governments who license alcoholic outlets. And that's why we found a challenge, because for them, they are focusing on revenue collection. Because the more outlets you license, the more revenue you collect. And that has now made it possible to have so many alcoholic outlets everywhere. If you go to the rural areas, you'll find now that there are a lot of developments are coming up. Even a place where a new road is done, the next thing the owner of the shamba touching the tarmac, what do they do? They do some small buildings, a small commercial center comes up, and the first business to be opened is an outlet. Is an outlet. So as I said in this, we are now all of us have to sit down and agree what is good for our country, because if we don't do that, we are losing a whole generation, and I think it's good we have accepted that, just like our president reminded us. So that's one area we are looking at. How can we have a formula of reducing these outlets? Because you see, when products are easily available, the accessibility is also a push for the use. Because you don't have a product there, it means you not use it. But now we're having them moreover. So that's been one of the challenges. But coming back to enforcement, we are now working very much in tandem, including county governments. And I think because now we have stepped on the pedal, we are going to accelerate on that. The next thing we're asking ourselves is what will happen to these people who have been using these products, who are requiring assistance. And remember, we said the issues of addiction is a disease. Actually, nowadays we don't call it addiction. You're calling substance use disorder. Because your body is not functioning, you have a disorder. So there's also the talk that the county government, and that's a plea and a play Nakada has been pushing, that the revenue they are collecting from the licensing fees, let's also push on it. And actually that's what the law says, by establishing treatment and rehabilitation centers. So that the guys who are now going to miss this product because the enforcement is ongoing, so it means there'll be shortage, they'll have a place to go to be treated. Because if that doesn't happen, we'll have very serious withdrawal symptoms, which sometimes result even to death. So that's a big problem.
Thomas, I'm still on tobacco and the new products. And by new products, I talk about alternative products, nicotine products. So there's the shisha, we have the vapes, and also we have the nicotine pouches. And I'm looking at shisha, which is illegal in Kenya, but enforcement still lacks. As we speak, if you go to Kilimani, you go some joints in Roysambu, you'll find people using, and it's just like a normal day. Is the legislation failing, or we need to do more? Because the head of state, if you do remember, on 31st of December, he did mention that even if it's things that require legislation, he have to speak to the MPs to see what they can be able to do. Could this be the real strike that, takes these drugs out of our streets and out of our schools and out of our homes?
The weak point is enforcement, and I think we should just call it as it is. We need our enforcement officers to roll up their sleeves and go against these people that are bringing in these products. Not just the arrests. We have our borders, which are very porous. Where is this shisha coming from? Where are the bongs coming from? They must be coming through our borders. Because as far as I'm concerned, a lot of these products are coming from the Middle East, the bongs and the rest, and including Egypt and such places, the Saudi Arabia. That's where a lot of these products is coming. And they must coming through a port of entry. So who is in charge of our ports of entry? That one needs to be looked at, so that we can actually start looking at this product, because there's no one manufacturing these products in our country. So those that are concerned with our ports of entry should be made aware that these products are coming in, and they should arrest those people bringing the products into our country. It's purely an enforcement issue, and the consumers, we have this establishment, and I will continue urging those that are in charge of our enforcement, including the police. These are illegal products already. The law is very clear on what should be done. And we feel that something else is lacking in this effort. And we have a weakness at the Tobacco Control Board, whereby we have a representative for civil society organization that should be advising the minister, getting information from CSOs. But over time, we have had the wrong people being appointed into these positions. This should be rectified. The Tobacco Control Board should have the right representative for civil society. I know there are many representatives from different places. But over the time, since the board came into place, we have never had someone from the civil society to speak directly to the Minister Waziri and tell him that this is what we find on the ground, because we are the people on the ground. We see where these products are being consumed, and the minister should be made aware each and every time, and what action should be taken. And we just want to encourage that this should be rectified. We have the right people in the right positions to help us to articulate the issues as they are. Yeah. So, and the issue of shisha, myself, from where I stand, I think it should be solved once and for all, so that we have those that are using these products taken care of. There is some time where we had some action being taken when we had Matiang'i at the Ministry of Interior. And some of the ministers in Interior should also take charge of this. It's not about the Ministry of Health only. This should bring in, as my brother said, a multi-agency approach. Each and everyone that is concerned with this, because it's a national issue, should be taking care of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And Amos, I'm looking at what you just said in regards to licensing of bars. Yeah. And that is mostly a prerogative of the counties now, where they give license to liquor stores, wines and spirits. And now, how are you handling cases where the county prioritizes licensing more bars as opposed to public health?
Thank you, Ben. Like I've put it, I think that has been a challenge, but how we're addressing it as NACADA is that, these are two levels of government, because NACADA is national government, and counties are the county, and they are the ones who have been given the mandate by the Constitution to license and to control issues of alcohol in the county level, including through licensing. So how we do is that we engage them. Yeah. And of late, we have seen some very positive engagement with them and a good response, whereby we make them understand we are not just licensing for the sake of it. Actually, anytime you find there's a concept of licensing, a requirement, it means it's supposed to be a control mechanism, which means that not everybody who applies should be licensed, of course, using a given criteria of what qualifies for licensing. So that's what we have been doing, and we are engaging them. And I'm glad to say that now we are getting some very good positive engagement with them, and the numbers are even coming down. Like now, most counties, if you compare the license they had issued last year against what they're issuing this year, there's some change, positive change, meaning that they are reducing the numbers, because you're saying we don't need to have these outlets everywhere. They're not like hospitals or dispensary that you need them everywhere. No, so that's one thing we are doing. The second thing is that we're still going around creating awareness to the public, because I told you NACADA, our two-prong is demand reduction and supply suppression. And allow me to mention on this that at the end of the day, we are saying it's an issue of personal responsibility, because it starts with you. It's you who decides that you're going to spend your money on this. You walk to that facility, or you drive, or wherever. So we are saying let's be responsible, and also let's engage our children and talk to them. And there's a challenge you've also noticed in our society today, the way we are bringing our children, is that, you see, for a child, the parent is the best role model. Actually, is a primary role model, followed by teachers and the general public and the relatives as they grow up. So we have also seen that most of our parents, especially the young parents, they are also not the best role models for their children, because if you go out there and you're using these substances, your child is seeing. And your child believes that whatever you do is the best, and your dad is the best, So when you also expose them to these products so early in age, we are also messing them up. So that's a challenge I'm throwing across to our parents, especially the young parents, that let's be the best role models for our children. And also, it's also important for me to mention that even the law provides that even in our entertainment spots, we should have alcohol-free zones and drugs-free zones, meaning you should not have a place where you are seated as a family and alcohol is being served. And I think that's another gap in enforcement, and I think that's something we are looking at, whereby establishment, if you want to have, maybe you're is a bar and restaurant, meaning bar and restaurant means a family can come for a meal because it's a restaurant. Then you should have a private, kind of a spacious section, which is only the restaurant, where I can come with my family, have a meal and go away without exposing the children and those people who are the legal age to these products. Allow me also to mention that, like he had said, NACADA has been doing a lot, even looking at the laws, the gaps. And actually, we have made some key propositions to Parliament, and they are moving very well through our CS Interior, because we are in the Ministry of Interior. And one of the areas of the proposals we made is that we also revised drinking age, legal drinking age, from 18 to 21 years. And it brought a lot of controversy and discussion, which is okay and very healthy.
Yeah.
And why Nakada proposed that is informed by science and research. Today, it's a scientifically confirmed, evidence-based level that the human brain development matures between 21 and 25 years. That's the time human brain develops. Remember in my introduction, I told you the statistics in our universities. And if I ask you today, what's the age of our students in universities?
Actually, it's that bracket.
Is that bracket?
Between
Meaning,
19 and 24.
and you see, normally once they finish secondary school, they go to university, they're independent. They feel like now I can do what I want because I'm in my own space. I've left the family, I've read the school where there were rules and regulations, and that's the population we are trying to protect. And because you have seen already, we have a problem with that segment of the proportion. So it's good for us to understand we don't just resist everything which comes. Actually, Nakada was very fair because we would even have proposed 25. Because World Health Organization, the maturity age of a human brain is between 21 and 25. So we just picked the lower side of the maturity age.
And also it's so standard for countries like United States, the UK.
Yes, most of the developed countries, they are in that league. It's 21 and above. Some countries even fight 23, 24, based on this fact that the maturity age of this. The other question we ask ourselves, when you said you are a student or you are a child to a college or university, who meets the expenses and all that? It's the parent. You are paying for the upkeep, you are paying for the tuition, the fees and everything. So where do you expect this student to get money now to go out there and start
advantageously, you're also funding the party.
Absolutely. So that's why we're saying let's also become responsible. Even the youth, because you also engage them a lot. We tell them these things will never end. If you have to do it, wait until you have your money and you also organize yourself. For now, focus on what is important in your life, your studies or whatever skill you are learning. We have seen so many initiatives being developed and being brought about by government. Like now we just watched what is happening in Laikipia, the Nyota program. If you're in the drugs, you never get opportunity to grab these opportunities. And I had the president telling them, this opportunity will not find you in the house. You have to go out there and look for them. But when you are intoxicated or you are in these drugs, you will not manage. And when you engage them, they always tell us, okay, we ask them in the first place, why are you using this? And they're like, oh, life is very difficult. This is a consolation I can have. But that's not the truth. Because does it mean every Kenyan who is going through hard time, they're in drugs? I don't think so. So let's also be real and we confront our challenges in the best way. And we also agree that there's no soft life. That's what I talk.
And it's a good thing you also mentioned. You mentioned our role as parents and as role models. The good thing that you also put that bulk and because everybody has something to do. And when you come back, because I want us to hear from the horse's mouth, the young people. When we come back, you know, when growing up, we had cigarettes that are, you know, billboards, you know, posters. We even had them being advertised on television. But the laws now are changed, and we're supposed to put some very scary images on the packets, graphic warnings. But when it comes to alternative, like the vapes and the nicotine pouches and even the shisha, which is even more dangerous than cigarettes, those are not placed there. It's more or less like a setback. But allow us, as you digest that, allow me to cross over to my colleague Achola Simon, who is in Busia, and is actually engaging youths in regards to a topic of discussion on the war on drugs. Good morning, Achola Simon, and kindly bring us up to speed with regards to the discussion that we're having, the war on drugs and narcotics.
What we are doing is that we're keeping a keen eye on the fight against alcohol and drug abuse, as of course directed by the president during his 31st address to the nation. And the reason why we are picking Busia County is there's a big challenge in terms of exactly how to control illicit alcohol that is actually coming from neighboring counties. Here in Busia, where I am, is actually Butula sub-county, and what happens is that a number of illicit alcohol that comes from across border, which is about 20 kilometers away from where we are at. And of course, infiltrates some of these villages, and what happens is that when the youth actually get their hands on it, we all know what happens. And of course, the president went way out in terms of just enumerating in terms of the numbers that are affected in the country. So then I'll speak to some of the youth in here in Butula who will actually tell us exactly the impact of alcohol and drug and substance abuse here in Butula. So there's a young leader here who will just tell us exactly what he thinks of the fight and what needs to be done, so that then they can actually read that menace from our community. Karibu sana Eugene. Ndakushikia Eugene. Eugene, swala la pombe na mihadarati ni swala ambalo limekuwa ni swala sugu sana katika eneo hili. Hivi tutahakikisha kwamba tunapigana nalo vipi?
Okay, sawa. Kwa majina naitwa Tieno Eugene, nikiwa kiongozi wa vijana Butula, na mimi nimeshukuru sana kuleta hii mswada, na kweli mimi naunga President William Samoei Ruto hiyo himizo alisema. Kweli ikifika miaka 2030 hatutakuwa na youths wengi wakijiingiza kwa mihadarati na kuingiza kwa pombe. So mimi naunga yeye mkono nikisema mihadarati na pombe iko kwa hii mpaka yetu sana sana. Na ile jinsi ya kuzuia, ile venye umeniuliza hiyo swali, ni ile tu kuelimisha, mentorship program, tukue na rehabilitation centers zenye zinawezaimisha vijana wetu wajue umuhimu wa kuwa empowered. Sasa ndio president amekuja na program ya Nyota program. Nyota program anataka vijana wakuje waanze biashara yao kuanzia chini mpaka wafike huko juu. Na hawatakuja kama vijana wamekuwa na ulevi. Unajua ukiwa ulevi huwezi jua chenye unafanya. So mimi nataka kuhimiza vijana wa Busia wasijiingiza kwa zile vitu haziwasaidii.
Eugene, nini hasa inafanyika kwamba hizi mihadarati na pombe zinazidi kuenea katika eneo hili, ilhali kuna polisi, kuna serikali ambayo inafaa kufuata maagizo jinsi rais alivyosema?
Hiyo swali mimi nataka kuunga president tena nikirudia hapo. Na naimizi polisi wenye wako hapa Butula, wenye wako hapa Busia, waweke, wasikuwe wanafuatafuata maneno za watu ama nini, waweke zile njia zenye zinaweza, because kuna chief, kuna assistant chief, kuna wale paka DCC, paka kuna polisi. Waweke mikakati yenye inaweza zuia hizi pombe pale kwa mpaka. Wasije wakakuwa na ile corruption, labda for example mtu anakuhonga ndio aingize hizo pombe za Uganda, aingize hizo pombe za Chang'aa, aingize hizo pombe za Nyazisaidi, vijana wetu wanaumia sana. So hiyo ndio nilikuwa nataka kuhimiza polisi waunge hii kitu ya president mkono na wamsupport, because president yeye kazi yake ni kusema, lakini wenye wana implement ni polisi.
Jinsi umesema ni eti kwamba rais kupitia kwa miradi kadha, ukisema Nyota kwa mfano tu, ameweza kuleta miradi ambayo inalenga vijana na kuweza kuwasaidia. Pengine himizo lako, kwa sababu wewe ni kiongozi wa vijana.
Himizo langu kwa president ama na wananchi pia, program za serikali ziko mingi. Kama mimi pia hapo kwa youth, kuna youth fund, kuna uwezo fund. Hiyo ni baadhi ya Ruto president alileta ili kuinua tu uchumi wa nchi. Whereby 2020 last year or the other year, vijana jenzi walivamia ofisi ya ilikuwa parliament. But president akakaa chini akaona ni jinsi gani anaweza saidia hawa vijana. So na hawa vijana hawezi saidia wote, lakini wale wenye wameshika, hata akasema jana kuna njia nyingine pia amekuja nayo, hawa wengine wakimalizika wakienda tena anaanza wengine. Na kweli serikali haiwezi shika kila mtu, wanaanza na wale wachache, wakishamaliza hawa wachache tena programu nyingine inakuja ya kushika wengine. Kuna programu mingi zenye hata alianza, kuna hata kuanzia next year. Kuna program not next year, next month. Kuna program alikuja hapa ya training. Wale wa mama wenye alisema mwenyewe, wale wa mama atakuwa na alipa 6,600, wale wa mama wajane wenye wajiwezi, because huwezi shika kila mtu. Hata tukisema mama wajane wa baba wajane wako hapo ndani, na tutaenda nao mbele. Kuna business hata kwa ofisi yetu ya youth, kuna business yenye president mwenyewe alikuja nayo. Kama unafanya carpentry, kama unafanya zile kazi za mkono na uko na license, alihimiza uregister, ulete makaratasi zako, ili ikifika uchukue vijana, wakupee vijana wangapi 6 then tuendelee na tusaidie vijana wetu.
Yes. Shukran sana Eugene. That is Eugene one of the youth leaders here in Butula sub-county. Of course, just putting out there what needs to be done in terms of the youth to be gainfully engaged, so then they actually don't engage in alcohol and substance abuse. But I'll just also put it out there, Njue, the fact that before we did this interview, I did speak to the DCC of Butula sub-county, and he told that they've actually carried out a number of raids in the local brewing dens, and they've actually arrested a number of people. They've also destroyed a number of illicit brews, but they're also doing everything within their means to ensure that indeed they fight that menace. He says that indeed they will be coming up with a multi-agency unit that will ensure that indeed they go around villages just to ensure that indeed they implement what the president said. As we speak to you right now, he's actually in Busia meeting the regional commissioner and also the county commissioner, so that then they can actually craft a way out in terms of ensuring that indeed whatever the president asked them to do is actually implemented to the letter. So this is something that will actually keep a keen eye on, so that then of course we'll be able to report in our subsequent bulletin on exactly what happened. Back to you, Ben Troy Njue.
Thank you. That has been my colleague Achola Simon live from Busia, engaging a youth leader. And from what he started with, he talked about if at all we continue with this trend by 2030, we wouldn't have a stable youth group. And that word really caught my eye. But before we crossed over to Busia, and you hear that the DCC has also moved in to just have a talk with the security agencies in regards to the same topic that we are tackling here. I had asked earlier on before we crossed over, and gentlemen, we are running out of time, but I'm going to give you a minute each for this. What single action do you believe would be very, very helpful if we are to fight and win this war, especially with the head of state now fully behind that campaign?
From my take, I would say that one of the things that we need to really look at is the penalties that are there for this trade in these products, illicit products, and also the sale of alcohol and such. I think that we should review the law to have stiffer penalties. There are countries whereby even possessing such drugs, you are hanged for that. You go for the hang if you possess some of those drugs. So we need to have stiffer penalties. We need our law enforcement officers to be very much alert, motivated enough, so that if they arrest some of these people, they just don't give them a pat on the back and release them like that. For example, I'll give an example like last year during Walnut Tobacco Day, we had Honorable Aden Duale actually taking part in the banning of some of these products, whereby a consignment of illegal products was actually put to flame. They destroyed them. But Honorable Duale never told us whoever was caught with these products, who are they, what was done on these people. Yeah?
As a deterrent.
As a deterrent, yeah. So people that trade in such products, we need very stiff penalties, including even, as the president has said, we need to upgrade it to a level that people will actually be afraid of participating in these things. That is one. And for tobacco products, one of the known ways is increasing taxes. The legal tobacco products that are in place, we need higher taxes for some of these products, so that it's also a way of deterring consumption of the products. And as my brother said, our parents need to be very good role models. For tobacco products, we have second-hand smoke issues, and you are not allowed to consume such a product near someone who does not consume, because they will inhale the smoke, second-hand smoke. And I think even with the alcohol and such, there needs to be a law whereby we deter, especially parents and people who are older, consuming some of this product. Shisha is consumed in bars. The smoke goes everywhere in the room. Who is protecting the non-smokers? Who is protecting people who are not engaging in these products? So we need to protect them. And last but not least, I'm very happy about what the government is doing. The youth empowerment programs are are very important, and we need to emphasize on that. And we should also deter. The other day I saw the president talking to the youths that are receiving the 50K for business.
Okay.
You know, there are some youths who can consume that on one sitting, on alcohol.
Yeah.
Believe me, some of our youths can
Yeah.
actually sit down and clear that 50K on one sitting.
Yeah.
So we really need to have, as we give them money to start some of these businesses that they are starting, let us cut down on the establishments that are selling some of these alcoholic products, because that is like a temptation. You give me 50K, I move around, I can't do any business, and I see a liquor store there. Where will I end up? Most likely to the liquor store.
All right, because of the interest of time, allow me to give 20 seconds to Amos to wrap it up from where you sit as Nakada to see what we can be able to do, especially now that the president is firmly behind this war.
Okay. First and foremost, I agree with all what my brother said, Thomas, that those are some of the initiatives you can put in place to address this problem. On my part, I always say, if we are patriotic, we love our country, and you do what is right. For me, that is the bottom line. Because if the law enforcement officer, you not close your eye when you see a smuggler bringing these things. If you are the customs officer in our ports of entry, you'll do what is right. If you are a parent, you do what is expected of you, like I said. If you are the businessman, you not sell to underage in your premises. So if we first become patriotic and we do what is expected of us, and patriotism goes with being law-abiding citizens, that would help. And if you look at what is happening in the developed countries, that's what people do. Because you cannot police everyone, that every other day there's a policeman behind you checking what you're doing.
See something, you see something, you say something.
You say something,
Yes.
that is it. So that for me is very important. Number two is also we need to support our brothers and sisters who are suffering. I told you the issue of addiction now is a disease.
Yeah.
And like Nakada, what we're encouraging is that the communities come together and help our people.
All right.
We have recently launched what you're calling community-based rehabilitation framework, whereby within our communities we can see how they can be assisted. We tap into the local resource. If there's a counselor in the community, they can have a session, the nurses and everyone. And once we do that, among the other things, we'll have safe communities, safe country, and I can tell you, the youth who are also suffering and complain about this issue, let them take the opportunities being offered and let them take them to transform their lives, not to enjoy themselves and run away and then they go back, like he's saying. And I think once we do that, we will have a safe country and we'll have addressed this challenge of alcohol and drug abuse in our country.
Thank you. And of course, we're going to be expanding this conversation. Amos Waroi, Principal Programs Officer from NACADA, and Thomas Lindy, Coordinator, Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance. We've been talking about the war on drugs and substance abuse after the head of state pledged to be firmly rooted behind the fight against that vice. We'll be talking about this and much more on our subsequent news bulletin. Many thanks indeed for joining us. That has been News Check. My name is Ben Troy Njue. Lucy Maure has been our sign language interpretation. Earlier on, we had Carol Njoroge. Do have yourself a blessed afternoon. Giving the baton to Swahili Desk.